What is going on, guys? My name is Sabas and welcome to the video. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining how human behavior works, and I'm going to be explaining how the brain works within a certain topic as well. Now, the topic at hand is violence. Now, within the first part of this video, I'm going to be giving a little bit of insight about all this stuff, the role of the brain, role of neurons, and in the second part, my partner Maggie will be giving a little bit of insight on neurotransmitters, some research conducted. But without further ado, guys, let's hop right into this video. Now, first of all, we're going to be talking about the role of the brain. Now, when violence occurs, there's a greater activity within the amygdala. Now, the amygdala processes fear, triggers anger, and motivates us to act. It is essentially our fight or flight response. If enough emotional feelings are triggered, a person may react using the lower part of the brain, which sends signals to the body. Also, serotonin plays an important role in regulating our anger and our level of aggression. Moving on to neurons. The main neuron that I personally found to be most helpful when it comes to violence is mirror neurons. They essentially control our actions. They plan, select, and execute our actions as well. Mirror neurons are pretty much classified as we do as we see. If we see something, we tend to do it. Moving on to neurological connections. Now, part of the brain, as I mentioned before, the amygdala controls decision-making skills and reasoning. However, in kids, it is a lot harder for them to think about certain consequences because their brain hasn't fully developed. So they don't necessarily think about what they do until later on when they get punished or whatever the case may be. People also influence violence by some things that they may say, by the way they think, by the way they act in society. It really is all dependent on the way we think and the way that we go about doing that. Sex and violence neurons are a huge connection. Violence can be caused by certain sexual tendencies. If an individual, a male, is attracted to a female, then any other male within the picture that is friends with this female has to go. I mean, unless they kind of come up with some understanding, there's going to be some type of violence or some type of argument or some level of aggression that may be exerted when this situation comes up. Moving on to injury, disease, and deterioration. Head injuries can lead to short-term memory problems and can lead to difficulty in judgment, which can lead to more violence. People that have come into contact with some substance abuse have committed at least one crime within the last 10 years. It's 31% of people have done that. So the more that you come into contact with substances and different drugs and all this type of stuff, you are more likely to commit a violent crime. We looked into a few different case studies as well. In 2009, the American Academy of Pediatrics has said that they have extensive evidence indicating that media violence can contribute to aggressive behavior, desensitization to violence, and fear. Another study was conducted in 2007. Craig Anderson, a psychologist at Iowa State University, conducted a study on violent video games. The study showed that people who play a lot of video games are becoming more aggressive. In contrast, however, Christopher Ferguson, who is a department head for psychology at Texas A&M, conducted a study for 3 years on boys and girls, 165 of them, and he found no link between violence and video games.
There's been a lot of research on violence and what people think is the main cause, why it's worse in certain people than others. And a lot of it has to do with, they think, age, being exposed to it at a young age, whether it's TV or video games or at-home experiences, just the environment that you're in, what you're exposed to. And the Bobo doll experiment is a perfect example of aggression in young children and how they see and how they pick up on certain reactions and how they act out of that. Violence is a big study, and it's also an important one because it helps us understand why things happen, like acts of terrorism or within schools, bullying, etc. And so research has helped us understand the process of violence and what's happening in the brain when certain acts of violence are coming about. And it's also giving us ideas on how we can help or prevent acts of violence to maintain healthier and safer environments. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that regulates mood and social behavior. And so when there's a decrease of serotonin, there can be an increase in many emotions such as sadness, anger, aggression, or violence. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that can either increase signs of aggression or regulate the impulsivity that might lead to different kinds of aggression, abnormal aggression. Let's say that there's a threat. The amygdala picks up on that. The main function of the amygdala deals with fear and changes that happen within a certain environment that you pick up on. And so in this moment, you're picking up the threat and you don't know what to do. So the frontal lobe deals with the decision making, whether you react and respond in a certain way or not. And so in some ways it may be cowering, in other ways it may be coming back with acts of violence.
Thank you guys for watching this video. As you can see, all this information really helps us predict and have more control on human behavior. All of the neuroscience related to violence really can help us prevent certain violence from happening. But thank you guys for watching the video, and we're outie.